Okay, Ford has made another very, very smart move here. Jim Farley has, in the past couple of months, admitted that Ford needs to essentially do what the Chinese do. And what is that? Copy Tesla. So that, my friends, is exactly what Ford is doing right now. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. Welcome to all you new subscribers. Great to have you. Welcome back to everyone else. If you are new, make sure you check out the 700, 800 videos we've made over the last 6 months. I don't know where it's at now, but there's a lot of content there that's not available anywhere else on YouTube at all. And a lot of it is stuff that you might find very interesting because it will change your view of what's really going on in the auto industry. And what is going on in the auto industry? Well, China is poised to essentially take the lion's share. Think about this, for example. In January of this year, more than 50% of all EVs in the world were sold in China, one country. Last year, well over 50% of all EVs sold globally were sold in China, one country. China manufactures EVs at a cheaper price than anyone else in the world does, and those costs continue to go down. So how exactly is Ford following Tesla's lead? Here is what it comes down to. They are adjusting and updating and improving the Mustang Mach-E on the fly, as they call it. Doesn't sound like much, does it? But actually, it is. This is normally what Legacy Auto does. They wait for a new model year, they bring out an entirely new car. And they say, okay, you've got to pay more for this car. It's different than last year's model. The last year's model is now superseded. Haha! If you want to get the newest, you've got to buy this car here. That's not what Tesla does. As soon as Tesla has a new technology, if it arrives in February, they try to install it in February. If it arrives in April, they try to install it in April. Legacy Auto does not do that. So that means they're slower to improve their vehicles, slower to bring value to the customer. Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, said the automaker won't wait for model year changes to initiate software and hardware tweaks. I think that's a really good decision. Now, a lot of people criticize the Chinese. They say, well, the Chinese, they just copy Tesla. They just copy. That's all they do. But does it make sense to copy something that works? I mean, for example, 6 different Chinese automakers copied Tesla and decided to get gigacastings, which makes sense. I have not seen an argument yet for why it doesn't make sense to use a gigacasting. It makes your car lighter, it makes production quicker, it makes production more accurate, it makes production cheaper. I mean, turning 70 parts into one obviously is going to save a lot of money, and it makes the car more structurally rigid. There's so many benefits to it, and all of Legacy Auto just ignored it. Just went, well, we can't copy Tesla. Well, recently, Jim Farley he didn't say they were going to copy Tesla, but he did say that Tesla was the gold standard. You got to give him props for that. And then he did suggest at the time that Ford was planning in some ways to emulate Tesla, and he was trying to motivate his staff to come up with ways how they can improve their culture to be more like the culture at Tesla's. And I know a lot of you haters out there's a lot of haters of Tesla will say the culture at Tesla is terrible, but the culture at Tesla is producing phenomenal cars and more electric cars than anyone else. So to some degree, it's clearly working. Ford made it clear they'll be tweaking the Mustang Mach-E crossover as needed or whenever new things come out. The goal is to increase profits, though any sort of software or hardware updates could be fair game as Ford works to change the way it has designed and manufactured its vehicles for many years. A recent report published by Bloomberg stated that Ford CEO Jim Farley shared with analysts that the company doesn't plan to wait for traditional model year changes as it works to update the Mustang Mach-E. Instead, it's making changes on the fly, it said, not only via software updates, but also through hardware re-engineering. Now, obviously, it's unfair to say that Ford is in a position to make the kind of software updates that Tesla does. They're simply not. They just don't have the technological know-how yet in their Mustang Mach-E. And if you disagree with that, then you're just being silly. That's the reality of the situation. However, Ford are doing their best to be able to get themselves to be in that position. So are Volkswagen, by the way. In addition to that, they plan on making updates through hardware re-engineering. The results are leading to cheaper production of their SUV in Mexico. This is one other area where Ford are trying to emulate Tesla, trying to lower the cost of production. Really, really important. Farley said on the automaker's Q4 2021 conference call, we're not going to wait for next year. We are going to re-engineer that vehicle now and then use that expertise for the F-150 Lightning. Farley added that this will be the way Ford operates going forward, period, which is a huge departure from Legacy Auto's past and Ford's past practices, as well as those of most of the entire automotive industry. I mean, I think a lot of these Chinese startups, NIO, XPeng, Leapmotor, Horizon Auto, a lot of those companies, they're a lot more like Tesla in that sense. And that's not just being said by me, that's being said by many CEOs, many people in the industry. It's been said by Herbert Diess himself. And that's one thing that Legacy Auto needs to change, their ability to pivot quickly, to change quickly, to make decisions quickly. This is what Farley said. We have learned so much about the lack of integration in our engineering operations as we compared our engineering on Mach-E to others that are best in class. And we are finding lots of profit opportunities. Being in the industry as long as I haven't felt this chance to take out so much cost after job one. Very interesting to hear Farley talk like this. I like it. It's not the kind of Mary Barra talk where she just exaggerates everything, says that GM are amazing and everything's going well. He actually is being very realistic here. He's making admissions that Ford can improve. He's saying where they can improve, how they're trying to improve. It's really good. I like this kind of level of humility. And then I think you need a certain level of humility to be able to recognize what you can do better. And when you criticize yourself like that and you humble yourself a little bit, that's when you can really grow. Bloomberg says that Farley used the Mustang Mach-E as an example, sharing that Ford had already reduced the EV's cooling system hoses by 1/3 and cut the number of motors in half. In addition, Farley said that fewer parts lead to higher profits. This is one of the things I don't understand why EV makers such as Stellantis say it's impossible to make a profit selling EVs. There is literally 2,000 parts in the engine bay of an ICE vehicle. There's 200 in that of an electric car. That's a big difference. Farley also said that the new method of boosting the bottom line is the way forward for Ford. He said in an interview that he's learned plenty from Tesla and from Elon Musk, and that's becoming increasingly evident as Ford transitions its age-old practices. I think this is a really good video, and it's some really good quotes here from Jim Farley to show the people that really despise Tesla and that talk down about Tesla and say Tesla does this bad, they do that bad, they do this bad. There are definitely things that they can improve on. But I think that sort of level of hyperbole, you can see Jim Farley and Herbert Diess, they clearly don't agree with you. So if you're one of those people who's very emotionally spiteful against Tesla, or you think that Tesla does things badly, in general it's a bad company, there's many people like that, but maybe you should listen to Jim Farley, listen to Herbert Diess, because they're not agreeing with you. They're saying something entirely different. I think one really smart move that Tesla made was they decided to allow a performance upgrade on their car. They first gave them for free on the Model 3 and the Model Y, and then they actually enabled another one. But if you wanted that additional performance upgrade, you had to pay. I think it's about $3,000 US. In my mind, that's nothing. $3,000 US. If you spent $3,000 US on an ICE car, the level of performance you get from upgrading your exhaust or your intercooler, maybe you get an exhaust and an intercooler for $3,000. Yeah, about right. I've done it before, so I know the prices. The level of performance increase you'd see from that might be maybe half a second from 0 to 62 miles an hour, if that. On the Tesla Model 3, they offered a similar upgrade for about that price, but you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go into a dealer. You don't have to void your warranty. By the way, yes, that's one of the big disadvantages of having an ICE vehicle and saying there's all these fanboys of ICE vehicles. I'm going to call them fanboys because they're obsessed. They're afraid of it. They say they hate electric cars. They're afraid of the future, right? There's all these fanboys and they really hate electric vehicles. And they have come up with all these reasons like, oh, well, you can't work on your car. You can't work on it. And I just think to myself, that's called a money pit. That's called a money pit. You want to pour your money down the drain? Be my guest. But that is just stupid. Come on. These are the kind of people who literally, after 20, 30 years of working, they have nothing to show for it because they don't invest their money in places that they can earn money. They invest it in places that just suck their money from them. That's the whole point of an electric car. You can get an electric car which has very good performance and doesn't require you to just pour money down the drain. One advantage of doing it this way, the way that Ford and Tesla are doing it is that manufacturers can easily store a complete bill of materials for every single car that rolls off the assembly line. There's no need to batch them in model years. It just makes so much sense, doesn't it? No need to batch them in model years. It's cost effective. It's space effective. I'm actually stoked with what Jim Farley is saying here. I think this is excellent. Ford is really showing they have a willingness to adapt, to improvise, to look to other companies and to use their examples of ways that they can improve, and then to apply the changes as soon and as necessary they can to keep up and to keep current versus their competition. This, I believe, if they can instill this in Ford's culture, will be huge for their success going forward. Thanks for watching the channel. I'll see you again on the next video. Bye-bye.